virtual spring break, brought to you by Girl Scouts of Central California South. Today's theme is Sports Day. Go Giants. Don't mind Miss Candace's Dodger shirt. She doesn't know better. So today, like yesterday, we're going to cover our 4 pillars, which are STEM, entrepreneurship, leadership, life skills, and outdoor skills. Woo! All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I know we would usually have it in person, but we're going to do as best we can virtually. So let's get ready for some fun. We're going to go ahead and start with STEM. So I'll turn it over to Miss Candace.
So I'm going to begin off with the Girl Scout Promise and Law. The Girl Scout Promise. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout Law. The Girl Scout Law. I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and responsible for what I say and do, respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. All right, so I am going to actually take you into my backyard. So I couldn't figure out what was STEM-y about sports. It was a tough one. I had to really think about it. But then I realized there's a ton of math that's used in sports. So I wanted to focus on what is known as the world's most popular sport, soccer. So I bet you didn't know, but hold on, let me flip this camera around. JK. All right, I bet you didn't know, but soccer balls are made up of hexagons and octagons. Interesting, right? We'll actually talk about how many hexagons and octagons a soccer ball has in a little bit. And a lot of other balls actually come from that same shape, meaning there are other shapes, geometric shapes, that make up the balls that we play with. So this one is kind of like a soccer ball, but when you kick it, it lights up, which, well, there's a lot of light out here. This is a spiky ball. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, here's an interesting thing. Talk about a little science lesson. Do you know why footballs have this shape? Any guesses? Just shout it out. All right, I bet you'll never guess this. Footballs have this shape because originally when footballs were made, they were made from pig bladders. Yeah, they used to use pig bladders, sew them up, inflate them, and play with them. That was football. Talk about using resources wisely, right? Now, we don't use pig bladders, we use other things. So I'm going to show you a little project and talk about a little soccer history. Just let me get this flipped around. There we go. So exactly how many pentagons and hexagons are used to make a soccer ball? So regardless of the size, meaning we could have a soccer ball this size, or we could have a soccer ball as big as you want to make it. They're always going to have 12 pentagons, which is a shape that is 5-sided. We have a very famous building called the Pentagon in our government, you know, shaped just like that. And they're always going to have 20 hexagons. Hexagon, hexagon, you can kind of see it there. Can you count how many sides are on there? You're counting 6? Good job. So there will always be 32 shapes that make up a soccer ball. The only difference is how big those shapes are. So for a soccer ball, I started actually making one out of paper. So a soccer ball this size, so about the same size as my yellow spiky ball here, those hexagons and pentagons are approximately 2 inches in length and the spaces between the different corners, or how to measure them, is about an inch apart. So if you wanted to make a bigger soccer ball, you're going to make those hexagons and pentagons much bigger. So it turns out that you can make a sphere or a three-dimensional circular shape out of something that has flat sides, like a pentagon or a hexagon. In the 1970s, Adidas came up with that black and white image that we always think of as a soccer ball. Now, I made my soccer ball out of green and white, well, some scratch paper and green and white paper, because I'm trying to make a Girl Scout soccer ball. So it really depends on how big your soccer ball, how much it weighs, and how much it's inflated, on how fast, how far, and how high it can go. Anybody have any guesses on how fast the average person can kick a soccer ball? Did you say 20 miles an hour? You're absolutely right. And some professional soccer players can kick a soccer ball up to 40 miles an hour. 40 miles an hour is the average speed that most city streets have posted. So when we think about when we're kicking a soccer ball, we're thinking about a lot of different things. We're probably mostly thinking, hey, how do I get this soccer into the goal? Or how do I get this away from this other player? But you're probably not thinking about the fact that soccer balls have to be inflated to a certain level of PSI. So pounds per square inch, okay? So a good way to think about it is, how hard does the ball feel? So my little spiky ball here, which I keep using as my demonstration aid, isn't inflated very much because I can squeeze it, right? In fact, there was a big thing that happened a few years ago with the Super Bowl called Inflategate, but anyway, ask your parents about it. So when you have a ball that is properly inflated, it can go higher, it can go further, meaning your kick goes further, and you actually have a better control over the ball. So why do I keep bringing this spiky ball out? So there's something else that's a little bit mathematic and a little bit has to do a little bit about physics when it comes to items like this. Now, a football, we discovered, is made of used to be made of pig's bladders. But why do they have those little bumps on them traditionally, right? It's so that we can grip them. It actually gives us surface area to be able to grip onto those footballs. Why would we want a ball to be smooth? Think about a ball that is mostly smooth, like a baseball. So baseball has stitches on it, but the outer texture of it is mostly smooth. So what happens with a baseball and other balls that are very smooth like that, they actually are able to go further. So think about when a professional baseball player hits a baseball. They're trying to get that ball to go as far as possible. They want to have control over it, but they want it to go far as they can. They want it to go all the way past the stands. They want a home run, right? In order for that to happen, they have to have the perfect shape, the perfect texture, and professional baseballs are made out of, have a leather coating to them. That leather makes it very smooth, and it makes it very easy to fly through the air. Now, if we hit this ball, we have a couple things going against us. One, the size of it, kind of big, but also the texture is just not right. It would have a lot of resistance through the air. In fact, let's do a good demonstration of resistance. All right, I'm going to put the camera down, but you'll be able to see my hands. You ready? Okay, so I want you to put your hands together just like this. I want you to rub them together. Feel that. Okay, now I want you to put your hands palm side out and rub them together this way. Now, your palms are going to have more resistance to them than the back sides of your hands. Why? We have fingerprints, we have indentations, a lot of people have calluses on their hands because we use them, because it gives, you know, we actually have to have some sort of texture to our hands to be able to do a lot of the things we do. The backside of our hands, very smooth. So let me ask you, what side had more resistance? The less resistance, the better, the more things will travel smoothly. So our spiky ball, not such a good one. But most soccer balls actually have a very smooth surface area because those hexagons, sorry, that's a pentagon, pentagons and hexagons are stitched together and they create this terrific surface area where these angular shapes with sides create a sphere, just like that. Pretty cool, huh? A little math and sports. All right, so I'm gonna give this over to Miss Mary and she's gonna talk about some life skills you can learn and how to use them in sports.
Thank you, Candace. And since we're talking about soccer balls today, that brings us right into our next thing. Today for life skills, I'm going to talk to you about equipment repair. So when you're playing sports, sometimes things can happen to your equipment, and most equipment can be repaired. Today, I'm going to show you what to do. This ball has some issues. You can see the hexagons and the pentagons, but it certainly doesn't look like a sphere. So one of the things this ball needs is it needs to be blown up. Now, you can get yourself your handy old bicycle tire, pumper rubber, otherwise known as a pump. But how is this part of your pump going to fit into that point of your ball? You get something called a needle. You can get these in the hardware store or the sports goods store, in the soccer aisle or the basketball aisle, and you just open up your air pump nozzle, you stick that needle in, and then you lock it down so that you can get them in. Now, if you've got an old dried out ball, this might be a little bit stiff to put the needle through. If you get a little spit on your fingers and put that on the needle, that'll help it go right in through there. So then you just get your ball, put your foot on the bottom of the pump, and you just pump like that. And it's going to take a really long time, especially for an old lady like me. So smart people who've invented all kinds of fun STEM things have come up with a really great way to blow up your balls or your bicycle tires. This is something called a CO2 cartridge, and you put on your little nozzle and you put in your little needle and you get it wet and you push it into your ball, and then you just push that down and it inflates your ball right up to the perfect spot, and now your ball will bounce and throw and you're good to go. Now the same concept works on your bicycle tires. You can use your air pump, and the nozzle on your bicycle tires kind of looks like the nozzle on the end of these needles. You just take your pump, you lock it on the end of your bicycle tire, and then you're ready to pump it up. And of course, the CO2 cartridge, you don't have a needle on there, but that works for your bicycle too. But what if your bicycle has a flat? So if you're out and you run over some goat heads, which are really prevalent in our area of the country, these little thorns that get stuck in your tires and make your tire go flat. So a temporary fix, you can get something like Fix-A-Flat. You can get a can of any kind of thing that's in your automotive aisle. They come in many different brand names, but you want to make sure you're getting the one that says inflate. Some of them say add air. Those are not going to work for you. You need to get the one that says inflate. So all you do is you're going to take your little nozzle from your can, you're going to screw it onto your nozzle on your bicycle tire, and then you want to set this on the ground. It's got to be on a firm surface. And then you push on this button. I'm not going to push on it right now because I would get covered in glue. So it's a little bit of a messy fix, but it's a really good temporary fix for your bicycle tires. If you try that too many times and it's not working, then it's time to actually take your bike apart and change your tire to a new inner tube. Okay, so one of your next equipment fixes I'm going to talk to you about today is the most important piece of equipment that every single sports use. Can you think of what that equipment might be? No, it's not the ball. It's not a bat or a glove. The most important piece of equipment that every single sports uses is you. It's your body. So when we play sports, we protect our bodies, like with, say if you're playing hockey or soccer or going rollerblading, you put, your protective paddings on and your braces and everything. But even then, sometimes you can get a sprain or a strain in your arms or legs. So I'm going to show you today what you can do if you're in the middle of playing a sport and you kind of twist a joint or your knee or your ankle. You could take this. This is a piece of elastic bandage. Now they make really cool elastic bandages nowadays that stick to themselves. You don't need the little pokey bits anymore to hold them together. They just stick right together. And what's cool about these is you can reuse them more than once. If they get dirty, you can even throw them in the washer and then they'll be ready to go again. Just don't wash them with the towels and they'll get all sticky and they won't work anymore with all that lint. Anyway, so you're going to open up your elastic bandage. You're going to wrap it around your leg and then you're going to just start wrapping it. You want to make sure you overlap the previous wrap just a little bit. Not completely, but like maybe halfway. And you just keep wrapping it around like this. What that's going to do, it's going to give your joints some extra support. It'll give all those ligaments and tendons an extra little bit of tension so that maybe you can finish playing your basketball game or your baseball game. And then afterwards, you can go see your doctor or your coach can take a look at it and see if you have a more serious injury. But that's a real quick fix if maybe you get a strain or a sprain in the middle of a sport. So the last repair I'm going to share with you today has to do with my favorite sport of all. Now, I see I've got on my Niners shirt today, but that's not my favorite sport. My absolute favorite sport in the world is camping. I love camping. And all the things that involves. It has so many sports in it. It has hiking, it has biking, you can do so many things when you're camping. And one thing my family likes to do when we go camping is to go fishing. And the whole time we go fishing, my kids catch fish, my husband's catch fish, I never catch fish because I spend the whole time repairing fishing poles for other people. So I'm going to show you today how to fix your fishing pole. So when you get a new fishing pole, it'll have this little tab in here. It keeps your string from going backwards inside of that spool. So a lot of people, when they first get their fishing pole, they cut this thing right off. And oh goodness, what did I do with my scissors? Just had them here. Here they are. Pardon me. So what I like to do, I don't cut this off. I like to make it really skinny so it almost looks like a needle. Can you see that? I make it really skinny so it's going to fit through these holes in here. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull out your string, and every single hole here you're going to put your line through it. And that is a perfect example as to why I keep this plastic on, because it's really easy to drop your string. So you're going to pull that through there. Oops. My needle just get a little smaller to get through those top holes. Gonna go through the next one. Now, that last one was a tight fit, so I'm gonna go ahead and snip off the end. I'm gonna go through the end part. And here's where I need my glasses because this fishing line is very fine. All right, so you're gonna put it right, if you can see that, you're gonna put it right through the hole at the top. Now what happens if I miss one of these holes on the way up my fishing pole? Your fishing pole is not gonna work, okay? And I also just showed you right now, I don't know if you can see it, but I also made another mistake. See, I have my fishing pole here. I don't know if you can see it, but my fishing pole line, I went from this hole, I went around the pole and it stuck out the top. Well, what am I gonna do now? Do I have to take it off? No, I don't have to take it off. All I have to do is make it loose and flip it over the top. And see, all better. Now it's not stuck inside my pole again. Okay, so the next thing you have to do to make sure your string is not going to go back through that tiny little hole, I like to take my floater. And a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to get through the little knobs and figuring out how to get their thread to go through. They made these really smart. All you do is you push on this little button and there's a tiny little hook at the top that pops up right there. So you're going to take that hook and you're just going to hook it on your line and it's going to stay right there. Now the next thing you're going to need is your sinker. This is going to make your line float. This is going to make your line sink. Now this is made out of lead, so it's very soft material. I'm going to bring it really close here. So you take that little line that's on the lead ball and you line it up with your fishing line and then you just give it a squeeze. You don't even need pliers or anything. See how that closed up? Because lead is very soft, so it closed up all on its own. Like I said, it is lead, and lead's not good for you. So once you touch those lead balls, make sure you wash your hands, because you don't want to touch a sandwich while you're fishing and eat after you've eaten, touch those lead balls. It's not a good thing. So the next thing I like to have in my fishing, of course, you need your hooks. I like to use these hooks that already have a string on them, and I take the end of my fishing line. And the thing I like about this, I usually tie them at the end of the line, but I'm going to show you how to tie them in the middle of the line, just so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And because, of course, this is very tiny line, you really can't see very well. I'm going to bring it up here. So the floater's going to hold it for me. So this has a hook on one end and a loop on the other end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that hook and loop over my fishing line. And then once I do that, I'm going to take my hooks and I'm just going to slip it right through that loop. Now see, I didn't even have to touch my hook. Now I'm not getting my fingers all jabbed. I'm not getting poked. I just slipped that loop right through that line. See that? The loop went right through the line and it's around my string. Now when I start to pull that string, it's gonna go into making a nice square knot. See, I don't know if you can see that, but it makes a really nice square knot. It's a little bit fuzzy on my screen, but if you can open it up and close it like that, you know you did your square knot right. So that's your square knot. You've got your fishing pole, you've got your sinker, you've got your floater, and see now I can take my floater off and I can move it on the other side of the hook. And you're ready to go fishing. Or in my case, pass this off to one kid and get a new fishing pole from the other kid. So that is your how to fix a fishing pole. Now, just because your equipment might get damaged doesn't mean you need to throw it away and get new equipment. There are whole sporting goods stores out there that are just made out of used equipment that people sold in their garage sales because they didn't think they could fix it. So I know you can fix things if you take some time, maybe investigate it on the internet, figure out how you can fix your equipment today. And of course, get some Gatorade, because that will fix your, oh my goodness, I just lost my camera, didn't I? Sorry. Am I back yet? Oh, I'm back. Okay, get some Gatorade. That will fix your most important piece of sports equipment on the inside. All right, thank you very much, and go out and have some fun. Now you're gonna have some fun with Natasha.
Thanks, Miss Mary. So today we're going to do, Miss Candace and Miss Mary talked about
Sorry, Miss Natasha, we need to spotlight you. There we go.
Okay, there we go. So thank you, Miss Mary. Girls, today Miss Mary and Miss Candace talked about a lot of soccer and football and other sports, and those are great sports to do. So today we're actually, for my area, we're going to talk about archery. So archery is an art, sport, practice, or skill of using a bow to shoot arrows. Archery dates back to about 60 to 70,000 years ago, and basically, they've first known about it in South Africa. This sport has traveled to many different countries, appearing in Germany, Switzerland, Mexico, and Egypt, and so on. It wasn't until around the 1840s that archery was turned into a modern sport. However, it wasn't until the 20th century that primitive archery was revived. So, I live in Kern County. And the archery instructor that we have is a pretty amazing archery instructor. Her name is Sandy McCain. She holds the following titles. She is a 3-time championship of the NFAA. She is a sectional championship twice. She is a field champion 13 times. She is a state target champion twice. She's the state indoor champion twice. State broadhead champion 10 times. That's a lot of titles. This woman is amazing. She actually takes her time and will show our Girl Scouts the proper way of shooting a bow, an arrow. She actually lives out about, she's out in towards like the Tehachapi area, in between Tehachapi and Bakersfield. She's got a property, her and her husband, and it's an archery course, and they set it up for other people to come and actually follow the course and do the shooting, and the distances are very long. So when she teaches our Girl Scouts, she actually has it set up next to her house so the girls can get the proper technique and the form, and they learn everything that she has to offer. She actually gets to show them her titles and her awards and trophies. So it's pretty cool that she actually gets to sit down and talk to our girls. Our archery is for juniors and up. So for my daisies and my brownies, I know that you may be a little sad, but it gives you something in the future to look up to and see what you have for archery next or upcoming years. So today, what you guys are going to do is you are going to make a DIY bow and arrows. I'm going to give you a list of supplies that you would need and that you could find in your home, or actually, if your mom's out going to Walmart or the grocery store to pick up a few of these items if she doesn't have them at home. So you need 1 plastic clothes hanger. The color ones look the best, but if you have a white one or black one, that works fine. They will need to have the little hooks on them. So there's the hanger and then there's the little hooks on the inside, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. You need rubber bands. Use the biggest size that you can find. And then you're going to need bamboo or sticks from your yard. They said that bamboo at Walmart's like $3, but if you can find the smaller sticks in your backyard, that works perfect too. And then optional is the decoration. So anything you have on hand, feathers, the beads, cords, colored tape to make stripes, pom-poms, etc. The list goes on. So I'm going to show you what the supplies are. So you see that they have the rubber bands, their hangers, and then the bamboo sticks. So what you're gonna do with your rubber band is you're gonna put it on those hooks. You need to make sure your hanger has those hooks in there. So you see the white one, it actually has the piece connected to the bottom to the top with the hook on it. That would be a better hanger to have, but if you don't have one of those, you can take one of the top ones just as well. So you're gonna take your rubber band and put it on there. And then I'll show you how it looks when they decorated it. So that's how they decorated it. You can see that they put a pom-pom at the bottom, at the tip of the arrow, and they put some feathers, and then they put some tape on it just to decorate it. So those are the supplies you're going to need. So now the way you're going to shoot your arrow is you're going to take your rubber band and stretch it out to the hook over. Oops, sorry. That's how you do the other part. So what you're going to do when you want to shoot your stick or your bamboo, you're going to place the end of your arrow on one side of the rubber band and pull back a few inches to keep the front of the arrow up and straight. So not down, up and straight. This is going to take a few times or a few minutes to get a hang of it to try to figure out which way works better, but that's the best way that you're going to do it. So for some extra fun, you can make a target by using a piece of paper and then drawing a circle in it. So it's going to look like something like that. Oh, give me a minute and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So that could be your target, okay? Or you can come up with different targets. You can make a silly face. You can do whatever you want to make a target. The idea is to get you ready and set for archery when we get to that point. For my daisies and brownies, like I said, it gives you something to practice with now. And then in the future, you can go ahead and register for our archery class. For my juniors and up, eventually when we get back to the office, we will definitely have archery available for you girls, and you can come out and you can meet Sandy and you can ask her all the questions you want to ask her about all of her titles that she's got, any of the history, what's the longest farthest she's shot an arrow, and then you can actually see their course, which is pretty amazing. They have a wonderful view. So now I'm gonna hand it over to Miss Karina, and she's going to talk about entrepreneurship for the day.
Leadership. And how would leadership actually play a role into sports? Well, I'm going to talk about Danica Patrick. So she actually led the way into women getting into racing. So she was the most successful woman in the history of America to open wheel racing. She accomplished many firsts for women in the sport, including being the first and only woman to win the Indy Car Series race at the 2008 Indy/Japan 300. Also, she has the highest finish by a woman in the Indianapolis 500 and Daytona 500. She did not endure as much success as many expected, but she did have an amazing impact on the sport because in a predominantly, I can't say that word, in a mostly male industry, she is given credit for inspiring more women to take part in auto racing and motorsports. So that's actually Danica Patrick. And so since we're talking about racing, we're going to make a little quick thing that you can actually do at home. So I call this the Sweet Car Racer. Let me see here if I can flip. Okay, so what I used was a mini candy bar. I used Snickers because Snickers are yum, but you can use Twix, Three Musketeers, Almond Joy if you like coconut. And then you can use M&Ms or Skittles or even those lightsaber circle candy things, forget what they're called. And then I took some frosting and actually put it in between there so it can hold it all together. And if you have a little teddy bear Graham, I thought these were mini, but it's not. So he's just standing by his car looking cool. So that's actually the mini candy eraser. So they're really fun to make and yummy. So have fun with that. I got most of my supplies at the dollar store, so it's really inexpensive. And yeah, so thanks for joining for our spring break second day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Candace, the song.
Sorry, just trying to share my screen.
I was like, I'm trying to eat this, but not in front of everyone.
Did you bring enough for everyone to share?
Well, Coco
All
can't
right.
have chocolate, so.
So we get hers.
For me.
All right, let's see if we can play our closing song.
friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend.